And hello, everyone. I'm Tammy Story. I'm the Family Engagement Coordinator for our school system. And I want to welcome y'all to the webinar, Removing the Stigma from Special Education. We appreciate you joining us. And this evening, we have Miss Natalie McCord. She is the Student Support Specialist for Early County School System. And we also have Miss Cindy Moses. She is our Parent Mentor for Special Education. And they're going to be presenting for us this evening. And I will be checking the chat box and the Q&A. So if you have a question that comes up, please put it in there. And then at the end of the webinar, we'll open it up that anyone can ask a question or have any conversations if y'all would like. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Miss Cindy and let her get started.
Good evening, listeners. I am Cindy Moses, Parent Mentor for the Early County School System. I am one of about 16 parent mentors in the Southwest Georgia region. And we partner with special education administrators trying to bridge the gap between home, school, and the community. We also partner with other stakeholders to ease the fears that parents of children with disabilities may be a little bit more comfortable when they let their children come to school and they need services. And next, Miss Natalie McCord.
Hey, everybody. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. We're glad that you're here. Before we get started, we wanted to share the link in the chat to the Students with Disabilities Parent Survey. We need all of the parent participation that we can get for this survey. Ms. Tammy Story will share that link in the chat for you all. Please visit that link and give us some feedback, please. Like they said, I am Natalie McCord. I'm the Student Support Specialist for the Early County School System. I've taught for 16 years total, and 9 of those have been in special education in some form or fashion. I currently am the 504 coordinator for Early County, and as well as working with special educators in training and professional development. Tonight, we wanted to present some information about special education and clear up some misconceptions about what special education is and what it looks like in the Early County school system. So one of my favorite quotes is one from Rita Pearson. She describes the influence of parents and grandparents, teachers, and so many others. I think she does it perfectly. So it says, every child needs a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best they can possibly be. So as educators, as community members, if parents and grandparents, if we don't stand up for our kids, who will, really? And that's especially true for the kids with special needs. Somebody must be their voice and somebody needs to be their advocate. So we need to stand in the gap for these students.
Our mission statement here in Early County and Early County school system is that everyone is committed to student success. And I don't care if you have an IEP or even if you don't have an IEP, and we'll explain what an IEP is later on in our presentation. But everyone is committed to student success.
So many people have their own ideas of what education or special education is or was in years past. And we wanted to dispel some of the myths about special education for you and give you some information that might be helpful for you or your child. The first one is that special education students can't attend field trips. Actually, that's far from the truth. The school must provide what's necessary for a student to attend field trips, whether that be a special car seat, whether that be a special wheelchair, whatever that child needs to be successful and be involved in that field trip to their full extent is what the child must provide.
Myth number 2, if your child has a diagnosis, they will require special education services. And this is not true. Not all students with the diagnosis require special education services. Just because they're diagnosed with something does not mean they cannot learn, and it doesn't mean that they cannot participate.
All right, myth number 3 would be that special education students will be labeled forever. That's far from the truth as well, because every year we have what's called an annual review process. And then again, every 3 years, they check to see if the child actually needs or qualifies for services any longer. And sometimes as the child grows, they no longer need the services at all. So no child that has special education services may be labeled forever.
Myth number 4, special education students can't participate in extracurricular activities. We do not deny the right to child to participate in extracurricular activities. If the child is capable of, then he will be allowed, and we will make any necessary thing that we need to do as a school system. We'll make sure that those students are equipped with what they need in order to participate and be successful at it.
All right. Myth number 5 is that special education is a place where children go. Actually, it's quite the opposite, because special education is just supports or services that a student may need. And that varies from student to student, because it's not a one size fits all approach, because each child is unique and the supports they need are unique as well. So what would work for one child with special needs might not work for another.
And I think, Ms. Natalie, that was one of the main reasons that we had to give out this information, because of what people have heard in the past. And it's just stuff that they hear. Nothing has been that they've heard has been proven. All right. Myth number 6, special education students are in a separate class all day. And that is not true. Only about 1% of our student population are in a self-contained classroom. And those students are severe or either moderate. So
I might add to that as well. The majority of our students are in a co-taught setting. We'll explain a little bit more about this in a few minutes. So as an early county school system, we're required by law to identify and locate and evaluate children that are suspected of having a disability. That can be from birth to age 21. And how a student can be referred would be by anybody, really. But the early county school system serves children ages 3 to 21 with identified needs. For the referral, anybody that is concerned about a child's development can do the referral. That may be parents, it may be foster parents, it may be grandparents, other family members. It can be by their physician or pediatrician. It can be preschool programs such as Head Start, Babies Can't Wait, school system personnel, the pre-K program maybe, community agencies, private schools, and just anyone that is concerned about a child's development can refer a child through Child Find. Also, all referrals remain confidential, so you don't have to worry about that. They're held under very close lock and key. So this is not something that we share with the public. Also, parents can refuse services. They have that right. So, and there's no charge for the services. But if you know of a child that's suspected of having a disability, then you can contact Ms. Marva Smith-Mincy. She is our special ed director for the Early County School System for more information.
Ms. Natalie, I've had the opportunity to work with Child Find with Ms. Mincy, and it did give me the opportunity to go into some of the daycares and give the daycare providers some information on Child Find and help them to be able to identify some of the children who are developmentally delayed. And when should a student be referred? A student should be referred if you observe some of the following: if there's a medical disorder, If the child is having trouble understanding directions, if it has difficulty seeing or hearing, if his speech is not developed by a certain age, if he has social, emotional, or behavior difficulties, and if he has academic issues also.
Some of the warning signs that you might see for a child that possibly has a disability would be something in development. Maybe they don't have a lot of movement, or the movement is uneven. It is not normal for a child to have no interest in toys at all. So when you see that, that's a red flag as well. If a child's overactive or passive, they really don't care what their surroundings are, that's a red flag. Maybe they're clumsy, they fall, they drop things. That might be an issue as well that may need to be looked at. Their behavior may be restless, they may need to be constantly moving, or have no real fear of danger. That's a problem, especially with children that maybe don't see the fear in touching a stove or whatever it may be. That's a red flag as well. They may have mood swings where they are happy 1 minute, sad 1 minute. That could be a red flag as well. If they don't try to feed themselves, or they don't tell what they need or want, or they show little to no independence at all, they don't try to do things for themselves. If they give up too easily, or they depend on others to care for their personal needs, and they won't communicate what they need, that's always a possibility for a disability, and it's a red flag as well. But just remember, children do develop at different rates, and most will show steps towards their independence during their toddler years. So if you have a question for, as far as referral, don't hesitate. I mean, the services are there for you.
What is special education? What does it look like?
So special education, once a child is diagnosed with a disability, they have what's called an individualized education plan. The emphasis on individualized, because special education is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Again, it ranges into what services they may need and how a child best learns. So that plan is designed for each individual student. Just like each individual student is unique, their plans are unique as well.
Some of the disability categories are listed here.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. And we see some of these disorders all the time. Now, we partner with parent to parent. If if you have a child with a disability and you're not understanding it fully, and I think you can go to our website, school website, and pull up parent to parent website, and they'll give you a lot of information on all these disabilities. And if you still can't find information, you can contact me. I'll be more than happy to find the information. And that's one of my duties, finding resources for parents of children with disabilities.
All right, so the old saying is true. It takes a village to raise a child. The same is true for an IEP team. It really does take a village for a child with a disability. So there are required members of the team, which would be our school psychologist, a general education teacher, that would be your core subjects, English, math, science, and social studies, a special education teacher, an LEA, or a representative from the school system that can interpret what the school system can provide for the student. The parent or guardian is a required team member. They must be invited to the meeting, as well as the student. And this is especially important when a student hits 8th grade and up because they're involved in their transition plan in after high school. So they have a say, they should have a say in what goes on during their IEP meetings as well. And not only the students that are 8th grade and up, but even our lower grade students can give us some insight as to what they're good at, what they're not good at. So the student is a critical member of the team as well. Some optional team members of the team may be an advocate. It may be the parent mentor, somebody that can help you, give you resources like Ms. Moses. The nurse, if there's some significant medical needs, the nurse may be involved. Counselors would be involved with transition. A physical therapist, an occupational therapist, or a speech therapist for our students that have a little more significant needs would be optional members of the team as well.
And Ms. Natalie, we really try to encourage parents to come to IEP meetings, and also the students, so that they can understand better why they have an IEP, and some of the goals that are set, and some of the things that we're doing to make sure that they reach those goals. Now, how are students served? We partner with Babies Can't Wait. They serve students from 0 to 3 years old. And once they turn 3, then we take over the school systems. We also partner with Head Start. Head Start serves students ages 3 to 4 years old. Pre-K serves students from 4 to 5 years old, and the school system is from kindergarten through 12th grade. Now, we do have a program now, a 3-year-old program, where we serve 3-year-olds within our pre-K building. But we serve students through the age of 21 years old.
Okay, earlier we talked about that the majority of our students with disabilities are in a co-taught setting. So we wanted to share with you what a co-taught setting looks like in a classroom. Now, I want to emphasize that there are 2 certified teachers in the classroom for all the students, not just the special needs students, but for all the students in that classroom. So in the co-taught model, one may teach here, one may be up teaching at the front of the room, while another one may be drifting and adding to the conversation. In team teaching, the 2 teachers are up at the front of the room and they're giving the information simultaneously. So they are teaching the same thing at the same time. Parallel teaching may be one group of students facing one of the teachers, one of the general ed teachers, and then the special ed teacher would have another group of the students, and they're teaching simultaneously as well, but they may be teaching it in a different way. But it's the same curriculum, the same standards apply for all of the students. So it's not one group is getting more instruction than the other. Alternative teaching would be one teacher that has a bigger group and one that's working with a smaller group. In one teach, one observe, one is sitting back and maybe observing a student that may have some significant behavior issues, or there's sometimes that it's necessary for someone to sit back and observe what's happening in the classroom. So one is teaching while the other one is observing what's happening in the classroom. Station teaching, we see this a lot in the lower grades. That would be where they have different stations that they go to. Pre-K is an example of that as well. So the general ed teacher is teaching one center or station, and the special education teacher is teaching the other. All of these are equal. The kids are treated equally, and both teachers are responsible for all kids as well.
And Ms. Natalie, let me say this. Most of the time in those co-taught classrooms, you really don't know who your children are that have disabilities and the ones that do not have disabilities. So it's a great setup. You got smaller groups. You can get to your children more than once. They got 2 teachers. If the child doesn't pick up on the information this time, then maybe the next teacher can explain it a little different and get the child to understand a little bit better. All right, and all of you know Magic Johnson, the I guess I wouldn't say that because some are not as old as I am, but most of us know Magic Johnson, and this is one of his quotes. All kids need a little help, a little hope, and someone who believes in them. And we believe in all of our children.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate your involvement in your kids' lives as well as their education, and as well as your grandchildren, as well as our whole community, because the more informed all of our community is, the better off our kids will be. So if you need any more information, here is some of our information as well for Ms. Moses, and as well as myself. You can email us, you can call any of the campuses, and eventually they will get to us. I know Ms. Moses is at the elementary school and I'm housed at the high school, but I go between all of the campuses at some point. So if you have any questions or whatever, you feel free to email us, call us. We're available for you. Again, I wanted to remind you about the parent survey. So check out the chat link there and complete that. We would really appreciate all the parent support and participation. So with that, Ms. Moses, do you have anything?
I just thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions, if you need any information, and if you see me out and about in the community, I do make home visits. So give me a wave or give me a holler, and I'll take care of your needs.
Thank you so much again.